So I've been thinking about this move abroad for a while now, and I keep hitting the same wall that I think a lot of people hit when they start researching living in another country. You do all this dreaming about the lifestyle, the culture, the food, maybe even the weather, and then you open a browser tab and type in visa requirements, and suddenly it feels like you're reading a tax document written in a foreign language. That stops a lot of people cold. It stopped me too for a minute. But here's what I realized. Understanding the legal side of moving abroad is not the enemy of the dream. It's actually the foundation of it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're just joining me, I'm documenting my entire journey of planning a move abroad, fitting it around the life I actually want to live, not some watered down version of it. Today we are getting into the part most people skip over or put off until the last minute. Visas, residency requirements, and what it actually looks like to plant yourself legally in a new country. Let me start by saying this. Not all moves abroad are the same, and not all visa pathways are built equally. The way you enter a country and the way you eventually get the right to stay long-term are often two completely different conversations. A tourist visa might get you in the door, but it will not let you build a life there. And that distinction matters enormously when you are trying to think about this practically. So let's break down the main categories most people fall into when they're making this kind of move. There are digital nomad visas, which have exploded in popularity over the last few years. A number of countries now offer these specifically for people who work remotely and can prove a consistent income from outside the country. Portugal, Georgia, Costa Rica, Indonesia, just to name a few, have all rolled out versions of this. The income thresholds vary wildly. Some are very accessible, others are surprisingly high, designed to attract a specific type of remote worker. Then you have retirement visas, which are built around proving passive income, usually from pensions or investment portfolios. Countries like Mexico, Panama, and Thailand have structured programs where if you can show a certain monthly income coming in, you qualify for long-term residency. For people who have hit that stage of life and want to stretch their retirement income further, these can be genuinely game-changing. There are also investor or entrepreneur visas. These require you to either invest a certain amount in the local economy or start a business that creates jobs or contributes value. These tend to be the priciest entry points, but also often offer the fastest route to permanent residency. Now here's where it gets interesting for me personally, and probably for a lot of you watching. I am not retired. I am not a passive income millionaire. I work, I create, I hustle. So the digital nomad pathway is the one I have been researching most deeply. And the thing nobody really talks about is that getting the visa is just step one. Because most of these visas are temporary, they last 1 to 2 years typically, and then you have to renew them or transition into something else. What that something else looks like depends entirely on the country. Some places allow you to progress from a digital nomad visa into permanent residency after a certain number of years. Others essentially reset the clock every time. Understanding that progression before you commit to a country is critical because the last thing you want is to build a life somewhere only to discover that after 2 years, your only option is to leave and start over somewhere else. There is also the question of tax residency, which is a whole conversation on its own. When you live abroad, you have to understand whether the country you move to taxes your foreign income, and you also have to understand what obligations you still carry from your home country. For Americans specifically, the United States taxes based on citizenship, not just residency, which adds a layer of complexity that people from other countries simply don't deal with. Getting proper tax advice before you move is not optional. It is essential. Something I didn't expect to find when I started this research is how much the application process itself varies in terms of difficulty and bureaucratic intensity. Some countries have made it genuinely streamlined. You apply online, you gather your documents, you pay your fee, and within weeks you have your approval. Others require in-person appointments, translations, notarized documents, and multiple rounds of submissions. The lifestyle appeal of a place and the administrative ease of getting there legally are not always aligned. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The visa and residency piece of moving abroad should be something you research early, not after you've already fallen in love with a place. Because what you discover in that research might actually change which country ends up making the most sense for you. It completely reshaped my shortlist. Countries I had written off because I didn't know about their programs jumped back into contention, and one place I had been absolutely set on turned out to have a much harder path to long-term residency than I had assumed. The lifestyle you want is absolutely achievable, but it has to be built on a legal framework that supports it, because a lifestyle that can be taken away from you at the whim of an expired visa is not actually the life you're trying to build. In the next video, I am going deep on cost of living comparisons across the countries that are still on my list, because the numbers are wild and some of them will genuinely surprise you. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time to do that so you don't miss any of this. And if you're going through this same process yourself, drop where you're at in the comments. I'd love to know which country you're considering and what's been the biggest challenge in your research so far.